Back in 1973, working in Dallas, Texas for Electronic Data Systems, EDS, a friend and co-worker, Terry Malone, and I were put to work to build a total medical information system to display at an AMA convention in Vail, Colorado. At the time we were working in the data center in Dallas, Texas, so we spent about 6 weeks putting together a remote system that would run from a doctor's office back to a central CPU. To do that, we used the Sanders 720 terminal. Sanders was in cahoots with EDS and had modified their terminal system to do some special things for us. So we used those instead of 3270 IBM series. But in order to put one of those out in Vail, Colorado, we had to have a 4-wire telephone line, and they just weren't available. However, one of our vice presidents had a daddy who was vice president of Mountain Bell, and he found out that Hertz Rent-A-Car was putting in a 4-wire line up to Vail, and it was scheduled to be delivered about the time we were going to do the convention. So we commandeered that line for a couple of weeks. I guess they went and told Hertz they were having a little trouble with it. It would be a few weeks late. In the meantime, they dropped it off at the lodge in Vail, which is where we stayed. So we had a 4-wire line. The next thing was to haul up a great big old control unit. These things were in boxes. Sanders control unit that weighed about 250 pounds, rolled around on casters, and you could attach 7 or 8 terminals to each one of those. So we took 2 terminals and we boxed up these huge crates and stuck them on the top of a couple of station wagons that we rented from Hertz, so we got a little bit of good out of this whole rigmarole plan that we had. Then we hauled them up to Vail. Had a very successful operation while we were there. We'd operate in the afternoon when the conference guys had free time. The docs at the conference, we set up in a suite actually, and opened up our suite to these fellers. They came in, looked at our system in amazement. Couldn't believe you could do that with a computer at the time. And fortunately, I took my toolkit along because the terminals that we had, the one we had set up for display, was going down on us constantly. So we had to keep working on that. And fortunately, it ran just fine during the demonstrations and all of the off times when we worked on it. One part of the high voltage power supply resistor had burned out. Of course, we didn't have anything. There was no place to buy electronic parts up there either. So we scrounged around this place, found a lady who had some bobby pins, hairpins. We talked her into giving us a couple of those, and I soldered one of those in where this resistor should have been. Gave me just enough to be able to operate the high voltage on that CRT. It was a little iffy. So what I would do is I'd run for a day or so. We had, I think, 3 or 4 days of running this thing. And the thing would heat up to beat the band, so I'd remove it then at the end and put a piece of another little piece in there. We got by. It worked just great. Then we took the whole works and boxed her up when the party was over, and we headed back to Dallas. We got as far as Denver. On the way back, we got tired of hauling this stuff around. Gary Bose, EDS salesman, and Terry Malone and me, a couple of SEs, who'd both worked together at Mutual of Omaha before, actually. They ended up on different paths down there also, both of us working for EDS, where we teamed up again. So there we were. We got to Denver, and we said, by golly, we're tired of this. Let's send this stuff back by freight. So we pulled into a freight store, unloaded these huge pieces of equipment, told them to ship them back to Dallas. We turned the cars into Hertz, took the plane back. And those days from Dallas to Denver, they had the nighttime flight on the way back on Friday night because they knew a lot of business guys were going back and forth. Had, believe it or not, You young kids today flying around aren't going to believe this. We got steak and lobster for a meal on Friday nights on that airline. So whenever we go up into Denver by air, why Frontier was our pick. We always made sure we came back on Friday night. Anyway, we got back, and when I finally left EDS a couple of years later, I keep getting calls from the machine room guys in Dallas. Where's our terminals in our control unit? So I don't know. Talked to Malone. He lined up the shipping. They talked to Malone. I don't know whether he stayed around much longer than I did or not either. But I don't know if they ever found that equipment or not anymore. I don't know what happened to it. So that's the story, and I'm sticking to it. So here we are, Malone and I, on that kind of boondoggle sort of trip. Took us 6 weeks of hard work, day, night, and weekends to get the system put together enough to demo it. And to tell you the truth, when we did demo it, it was just kind of like the hair on our chinny chin chin. It was pretty close. We got her done though. So here we go. TT. Terrence T. Malone, we call him T squared L, T squared Malone, and Gary Bowes and yours truly, Dickie Jugal, on their jaunt up to Vail, Colorado. I think this was probably June or July, sometime in that time frame. It was in the summer. We didn't do much skiing. But by golly, here we go. Here's Terry, coming out of a convenience store where I guess we stopped to get some cigarettes or candy bar or something. Got our rental car and we're headed off for Denver, where we're going to pick up the gear we had shipped up there to a shipping company in Denver, freight company. We're going to drive up there, join up with Gary Bowes, who's got another rental station wagon, and there we are. We're putting that equipment on top of these station wagons, and we're going to be off for Vail. Terry's taking a few pictures himself. Here we are on I-70, heading on up out of Denver and on up toward Vail. Our 2 wagons loaded down with electronic gear, control unit terminals. Just zipping right along. Beautiful day, beautiful day. Much better than tooling around up there in like January or February, that's for sure. Unless you're a skier, something like that, which we aren't. Got a pretty view there with those mountains in the background. We're going to be right up in those mountains before too long here. A lot of people stopped on the side of the road there, doing whatever they do. Cars overheated or taking pictures or something. Pretty steep hills out that way. Up and down. Here we pulled in for a gas stop or a little break of some kind somewhere along the road. Some kind of a mine over there. Looks like it's still in production. That time anyway. Don't know if it's still there or not. Been up there several times since, but never paid a lot of attention. We're really getting up there now. Higher and higher we go. We're off the interstate now. I don't know if the tunnels were done yet at that point. Might have been up into Vail Pass by now on a 2-lane road. I have to check and see when the Eisenhower tunnel was finished. We're at the lodge now. We're all checked in. This is the swimming pool. Here we're setting up, and I'm on the terminal in the modem, talking to the guys down in the Dallas data center, doing some line equalization and some balancing to make sure all the communications is going to work all right. Terry and Gary are setting up the display area, Total Medical Information Processing System, TMIPS by EDS. There's the Sanders 720 over there blinking away in the background. We had the control unit back in the bathroom. You can see a few of the cables underneath there hooking everything up. And we got some displays to illustrate our fantastic system that was 6 weeks under development. Pretty good, though, if I do say so myself. Here's a shot out on the side and the banks out behind Vail, the lodge, showing a few of the ski lifts. Back to the pool. I'm just checking this point, had everything set up. We're checking the scenery out around the pool. It's a pretty good scenery there, as you'll see. This is getting down toward the main drag, kind of wander around back and forth. We had some pretty nice meals during those few days we were there. We didn't lose any weight, I'll tell you that. A lot of touristy stuff going on there, even in the summer. Vail, Colorado. People meandering down the streets. This is where my buddy Glenn Self dropped by and recruited me to work on a project up in Connecticut. A little later this summer, about August, I packed up and moved the whole family up to Connecticut to go to work on a construction management system for Northeast Utilities. We were there a couple of years before moving back to Omaha, which is another story. A few shots around the city there and the lodge. I suppose it's changed a lot by now. We're back at the scenic pool. Looks a little more active than it did before. Might have been on the search for a hairpin by now. We're starting to ask people if they have any hairpins we can have. Which probably is. Here's Terry. He's going to take a dip. Man, look at that Olympic form. Good job, Terry. Whew. I think the lady thought it was a little strange to have an unknown fellow come up and ask them if they have a hairpin they can borrow. A little kinky, I guess, maybe. That was a real nice pool. We had a lot of fun hanging around that place. Boys are having a good time there. Here goes Terry, circling, getting a little closer. Yeah, he's going to go over there and pop a question or two. I don't know if that's what he was talking about or not. Probably just saying hello. I think the one in the orange knew she was getting photographed. Actually, probably all of them did. Here's Terry. Found another one there. Come the kids hitting the diving board. There we got another shot of the surrounding mountains. Rode the ski lift up, some of our off time, up to the top of the ski run, just for the hell of it. Rode it down again too, but we're shooting a few shots of the run on the way up. Here we are at the top. Probably look a little weird running around in our EDS outfits, white shirts and dark suits and ties. What can I say? Had to be ready to go back in when the guys got free time, the docs got free time, so we could demo our system for them. I think that's about 9,000 foot up there, if I remember right. And there's Terry up there doing a little hiking in his EDS outfit. And this sort of tells you what the Gore Range is all about. I don't think it's named for Al Gore. Nobody had heard of him yet back then. You hit pause there if you want to see if you could read it. If you got a big enough screen. If you want to. Otherwise, just keep going. I believe we're heading back down. Did all the hiking we want to do up there. As I recall, she's a pretty warm day. We're back into the below the tree line now. See the ski runs angling around there like a snake. Here's another lift we were riding. Hadn't closed gondolas. Well, we're finished, loaded up, and headed back for Denver with our gear now. Going along whatever that river is that trails along the highway. Thought we'd get a few shots, kind of leisurely taking our time here. Standing out on a rock. There's T himself. The Omaha Flash. Beautiful scenery up that way. Really enjoyed that trip, even after all that work. And there's yours truly, standing on that same rock. Just like the pioneers probably did, and the Indians there before them. I always get a bang out of those scenic area signs. I mean, the whole place is scenic. Now we're back home. There's the cat from hell, back in the backyard. The little girls are doing their swing thing. Swing set got quite a bit of use. By golly, good investment to keep them busy back there in that backyard. Careful. Lisa, don't kick Lynn out of her chair. Lisa's got her special mount deal going here. As she gets on the swing when she's got it set up that high. I don't know what they did that for, but they did. Yeah, probably getting ready to pack up now and head up for Connecticut for the Northeast Utilities job. I believe we left in August. I went up a few weeks first. Had to find a place to live and get settled in, and then I came back and got the car. Went back up for another week or two. Got everything settled, and then went back, flew back, picked up Marlene in the other car, and the kids, and the cat from hell, and the dog. Made the other trip. Both times we drove up there, it rained like hell. We drove by all these places. I thought I might stop with the kids, like Dan LeBoon's cabin. But the first week that I drove all the way up there, it was raining. It beat the band. Second time did too. So that was that.